Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 149 of Crunch Time. I'm going to be your host of today's episode. I am Tanner Dislin, and as always, I am joined by Sam Godsey, and we are the N326 duo. Samuel, you know what I'm going to ask. How you doing today, buddy?
Football's stupid. But
Good.
all my teams are just trash. I'm happy that college basketball season is getting underway. The Maui Invitational coming up. Great field this year. And of course the NBA Cup. We got the Cavs and Celtics playing on that beautiful neon green court.
Regular season NBA is just where it's at.
Absolutely. But it's okay, man. Other than the football things are going good, man.
Yeah, it's been a rough football season for Sam, and it seems like not to rub salt in the wounds, but the best quarterback on both of your teams is now out for the year. And what?
Yeah.
Hey, at least I was going to a bowl game.
Woo.
Shout out us. You know, some programs don't do it. You know, it is what it is. But we've got, of course, a packed episode for you guys today. Start off with winners and losers, as we always do. Talk about the weekend slate of football players of the week. And, of course, we wrap up with Pick'em and the return of our guest picker. We have recurring guest Erich Godsey on the show to help pick some games with us. That will be awesome. But of course, before we get to any of that, we will start off with our winners and losers. So Sam, hit me with your winner.
Yeah. There were a lot of winners since last episode. Obviously Friday night, Netflix scammed millions of people. Jake Paul and Mike Tyson got a payday. Netflix can definitely be a loser though, the way that was played out. But then we got Henry from College Game Day nailing
Yes.
800K kick after the girl that won. Did you hear about this? So this other person, this girl won. Like it's
won or won?
Won like
WON.
Yeah.
Won.
She won
victorious.
Yeah, sure. Let's go with that. The raffle, so that's how they decide. And she's like, "No, I'm good," and picked Henry. Henry nailed it.
Damn.
Yeah, so that's pretty crazy. But for my official winner of the episode, I'm gonna go with Louisiana Raging Cajun volleyball player.
Okay.
Siena DeCamba. Did you see this by chance?
No.
So she,
I think I did.
So she suffered a ACL injury, ended her career early, and she got put in match 4 against Georgia Southern, who's kind of run it in the Sun Belt this year. She came in for the final point of her collegiate career. She hit a walk-off ace with a torn ACL. So what a day, especially closing out a career like that on a senior day for an upset nonetheless.
For sure. Feel good story to start off your Thursday or whenever you are listening to this. Yeah, but my winner, Sam, we're going to go to the hardwood. We just talked about how NBA regular season is where it's at because the Cleveland Cavaliers are now 15-0 to start this NBA season. Pretty impressive stuff. Anytime you win 15 straight professional games, no matter what league, that's pretty damn impressive. Even in the MLB, when there's 162 of them, a 15-game winning streak is very rare. So I looked up the longest undefeated streaks to start a season, and the Cavs at 15-0 are currently tied for second with the 48-49 Washington Capitals,
of course,
and the 93-94 Houston Rockets, who started out 15-0. The number one streak is the 15-16 Warriors. Of course, we all know the 73-9 team who started out 24-0.
Ain't bad.
It's not bad at all. And I'm very, very happy we're recording on Tuesday because this is still true. Because the Cavaliers are playing the Celtics right now, and they're currently down 18. So I think the streak is going to end. But as of right now, as I'm saying this, the Cleveland Cavaliers are 15-0. And that's a pretty impressive way to start an NBA season.
That's tough. Tough timing there. But yeah, they're off to a great start. Yeah, I mean, we all kind of knew the Cavs were gonna be good this year. They're great last year. They just don't seem like a team that would succeed in today's NBA with playing basically a 3 big man lineup, which is unheard of in today's day and age. But when you got Donovan Mitchell as your one guard, Darius Garland as a other guard, and 3 big men, 2 of them being 2 of the best defenders in the league, it's a recipe for success, as we've seen.
Yeah, no doubt. And then that's the thing too, is it's not like maybe one thing if Donovan Mitchell was just scoring like 50 a game, and he's like not like it seems like it should be repeatable, although when they play probably the best team in the NBA, the defending champs, they seem to be getting run off the floor. Now stop me if you've heard this, but with this recent Cavalier streak, do you know who's the winningest NBA player since 2020? Did you hear this?
Yeah, I did.
You did hear this. It's pretty crazy. Yeah, the winningest player in the NBA since 2020 is not LeBron. It's not Donovan Mitchell. He is a Cav, obviously, but it's not Donovan Mitchell. It's not any of the big guys like LeBron or Devin Booker or any of those playing on good teams. No. It's George Niang.
Shout out.
It's George Niang.
Shout out. Repping big dudes everywhere, man.
What is it? The minivan? Is that what it is? the minivan?
The minivan. That's
yeah.
his nickname.
Yep. So, yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting.
It's kind of crazy because, he currently on the Cavs. I guess the 76ers are good in regular season.
Yeah.
And then before that, Jazz, where they were consistent. That was Rudy Gobert, the good Jazz teams. Donovan.
Yeah, Donovan Mitchell. Danny loves Donovan Mitchell.
Michael Conley, I'm pretty sure, was on that team. And then before that was the Pacers. But yeah, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's not who you'd expect. But yeah, when you think about it, those teams.
Unless you know ball.
Unless you are a certified ball knower like us. But of course, Sam, who is your loser?
Yeah, I'm going to stay on the hardwood. This is a guy that a lot of people have followed since he was like 8-year-old playing varsity basketball. He was like on the Ellen show. Julian Newman. He kind of fell off the face of the earth these past couple years, and people found out he is now playing college basketball, first season at 23.
Oh,
at Bethesda University. Bethesda. There you go. It's a NAIA.
Question.
Yeah.
Should I know who this is?
If you don't, he's more of a YouTube hooper personality.
Okay.
So if you're not in that realm of things, but I'm sure. Have you ever seen the clip of the kid at like the AU tournament doing like crazy handles? And the defender's like, "What are you doing?"
Just like backing up, like,
yep.
Okay, yep, I have seen that clip.
This kid.
Okay, got it. I have seen that clip.
His dad thinks he's like the greatest thing since Jesus.
Of course.
Right now he has played 3 games, 12 minutes, so small sample, but he is shooting 3 for 18 from the field, so a 16.7%, 0 for 12 from 3. And he has 2 turnovers and a total of 9 points. So rough start. And he is getting absolutely trolled on the internet because he was like, I'm going to the NBA,
Of course.
yada, yada, yada. But yeah, Julian Newman, man, big loot.
Bethesda's finest. A whopping 0 for 12 from the field. What a beast. What a beast. So for my loser, Sam, I don't know exactly what to call it. So I'm just going to say college football fans, because we have entered that time where we got to debate everything, specifically with the college football playoff rankings.
Yep.
And the new rankings came out about an hour ago, and I haven't really seen. I mean, it came out an hour ago, so I haven't seen that much chatter online, from fans and whatnot. But I know last week when Georgia was not in the field, if the season had ended after last week, people were pissed. What a joke of a ranking. Like, how can you do this? When are people gonna realize that these rankings don't freaking mean a thing?
Yeah.
That they do not mean a thing.
Yeah.
That year after year after year, granted, except for last year, because it was a rather unique scenario where Florida State ended up getting left out, but year after year after year after year, after the conference championship games, it settles itself.
Mm-hmm.
One team gets knocked out. The conference championship games are the biggest games of the year. Like, who the heck cares if Georgia's not going to make the field if the season ended today? Newsflash, buddy, the season doesn't end today.
Yeah,
they can still win the SEC, and if they do that, they will certainly be in the field. And we're also in the heart of the conference debates and ESPN. From the personalities they're having on, they're already laying the groundwork to try to push the narrative that 2-loss Tennessee should be in, that 2-loss Ole Miss should be in, that of course you're going to have your Texas, Georgia, Bama, that we could get 5, 6, maybe even 7 teams from the SEC into the field and knock out some of the other teams. Which is to nobody's surprise that they try to push that SEC stuff. But then you got SEC fans saying, oh, we're the best conference, and other fans fighting back, and it's all the bloodbath, Big Ten versus SEC versus this versus that. Shut up. Shut up. It will sort itself out. I promise. But that brings me to the next point, and that's, how we all were like, oh, thank God for the 12-team playoff. Because now we won't have the Florida State problem again. Now we won't have, the TCU problem in that first year. The team that gets left out that deserves it. It's just, that's just not the case. Like, we're gonna debate everything until we're blue in the face.
Yep.
Anyone who thought that the expansion of the playoff would just do away with any controversy on who gets in is just naive.
Yeah.
So we're back to it. The college football rankings are out, and everyone's mad. And just relax. They don't matter. I promise you, they don't matter until we get to conference championship week.
Yeah, no arguments here, man. But yeah, it's crazy how intense people get about this. These rankings so early on. I mean, we haven't even hit rivalry week yet, and that's probably the second biggest week.
It's insane.
It is insane.
And I kind of want to test like some SEC fans, like what exactly goes on in their brain, because I don't know about you, but when I'm watching Big Ten teams in the NCAA tournament in basketball during bowl season, I want every single one of them to lose. I don't like Big Ten teams. Why? What's up with SEC?
It is weird.
It's so weird. Like Tennessee fans arguing on behalf of Georgia. What?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What? Like you wouldn't catch me dead arguing in favor of Ohio State or Michigan or any of these guys to get in. Like that's just crazy to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I digress. College football fans, you're the loser because you just don't give it a rest. No matter how many years we have to go through this, it does not matter what the college football playoff rankings are. with 3 weeks to go in the regular season. It just doesn't. Now shut up.
Yeah. Nailed it.
Speaking of ball, should we get into this week's games?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get to it.
No doubt. We'll start off in college as we always do. And Sam, we saw an undefeated team lose that perfect record. This might be this year's spoiler team, Sam. They've already done it to Iowa State. Now, they didn't hand them their first loss, but they handed them a big-time loss in Kansas City. Now, handing BYU a loss in back-to-back weeks, back-to-back highly rated teams. The Kansas Jayhawks take this game over BYU 17-12.
Yeah, you mentioned the two big upsets the Jayhawks have acquired these past 2 weeks. Is actually the first time in school history that they have beaten ranked opponents in back-to-back weeks. But Tanner, when you're looking at this game, you got to look at BYU in the red zone. 2 for 4 in the red zone. No touchdowns on all 4 drives inside the 20-yard line. That's just not a recipe for success. Turnovers, especially late in the game. 4th and 14. Jalen Daniels, quarterback for Kansas, does a little pooch kick. It actually deflected off a BYU helmet, didn't secure it, and it set up KU's go-ahead score. And they get the ball back late. BYU can't do anything, only gained 4 yards on the 2-minute drive, turned it over. That's game.
Yeah, no, I mean, when we talk about this game, it's got to come down to that pooch kick. Like, you know, it hit off. It's like he didn't know it was a punt. Like he was playing coverage, right? Like he was recovering the receiver. It's kind of a brutal break. I mean, obviously BYU's kind of been playing with fire. Some might say it was, you know, ball don't lie from the Utah game. Who knows? That's not me saying it. Some people might. But yeah, I mean, it just comes down to that play, which is it can't happen. It is a little bit of a brutal break, but it also just can't happen, right? I don't know. Absolutely. Someone's got to be screaming, yelling, pooch, punt, like get away from the ball. So yeah, that's a devastating one for BYU. I mean, other than that, it was kind of a, dare I say, boring game.
Yeah.
You know, obviously not much scoring occurring. Neither quarterbacks really played all that great, I thought, you know, both under 200 yards. But, you know, Devin Neal, the running back for Kansas, was able to get in the end zone twice. And obviously we know what happened with BYU in the red zone. So that was the difference, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Got anything to add with the Cougars getting their first loss of the season?
Yeah, definitely a shakeup in the Big 12. It kind of opens the door for other teams to sneak in with that one loss. They dropped in this week's ranking. They're now 12. It's going to be an interesting couple weeks for BYU. They have a tough game against Arizona State, who's kind of been playing spoiler as of late. We'll talk about that one in a little bit, but BYU's road definitely got a little tougher going to the college football playoffs.
No doubt. Unfortunate for BYU. What do you say we just go through an SEC gauntlet here, Sam? Because there were some big time games in the SEC this weekend. We will start. We'll start with the big one. Why not? Georgia and Tennessee. Georgia took care of business, winning 31-17 at home.
Yeah, I was definitely wrong about this. I thought Nico would come to play, be that kind of spotlight game of his young career, but turns out Carson Beck can actually play ball. He stepped up massive in this game. 2 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown, not known for rushing the ball, but tucked it. Got a huge score for the Bulldogs. And more importantly, some we haven't seen a whole lot from Carson Beck this year, 0 interceptions.
Yes.
That's huge. Georgia sealed the victory with a 92-yard drive. The thing with this Tennessee team has, as good as their rushing attack has been, they've relied pretty heavily on that defense. The defense hasn't allowed more than 19 points, and that was to Arkansas in that last couple plays. So obviously that didn't happen today or on Saturday, excuse me. And it was the first time this Tennessee defense really got tested, and believe it or not, Carson Beck cooked.
Yeah, that's it. That's the story. Is Carson Beck looked like the guy that a lot of people, that we were promised. Going into the season, we're like, Georgia should be the best team in the country, and it should be because their quarterback is one of the best quarterbacks in the country, and that's just not been the case this year at all. And you said it, the name of the game. Obviously, the 347 yards is great. The 2 touchdowns is great. What he can do with his feet is great. Taking care of the football has been the issue with Carson Beck this year. And this is his best game, I think, of the year, considering the competition, considering the stakes, and considering the stats and all of that. So huge game from Carson Beck. And looking at Tennessee, man, the offense, they just need to figure it out. Like, they were okay today, like as a whole, but you said it. This offense, just simply put, has not been good enough for the Tennessee defense that has been much better than I thought they'd be there. This Tennessee defense has been awesome, as you said. There were multiple games in a row where Tennessee had 0 points at halftime. I think they had 0 points against Florida. I think they had 0 points. Who else did they play? A stretch of conference games where I think it was 3 in a row where they had 0 points at halftime. That just can't happen when you have as much talent as Tennessee does. So, Tennessee is a team. I'm going to be honest. I don't want to see them in the playoff. The offense isn't there. I don't think they're going to beat good teams. Yeah, they beat Bama, which Neyland Stadium was rocking at home, and in Knoxville. That's great, but I just don't think in a neutral site or on the road, I don't think this team has the talent to beat top flight teams. So I don't want to see them in the playoff. That's just me. But Georgia picks up a big win, Sam, and they seem to be back on track. And the SEC continues to just cannibalize each other.
Absolutely.
Texas losing to Georgia. Georgia beating Tennessee. Tennessee beating Alabama. Alabama beating Georgia. Ole Miss gets in there. What did they? Ole Miss beat Georgia as well. Ole Miss lost to LSU. Alabama destroyed LSU. It's insane.
Tennessee losing to Arkansas. Vandy beating Bama. It's insane.
Insane. Absolutely insane. But yeah, Georgia picks up a big time win at home, and they seem to be back in the driver's seat of their season. But moving on, we'll talk about, I think, 2 teams that are on the opposite end of the spectrum. One team quite possibly is the biggest disappointment of the year, and one team is a team my radar was not on this team at all going into the season. They're putting together a nice little run here. That's the South Carolina Gamecocks getting a big time win at home over Missouri, 34-30.
Yeah. 3 words: LaNorris Sellers and collapsed by Missouri. I mean, LaNorris Sellers was one of the best college football players on Saturday. 353 yards, 5 touchdowns, rallied his troops twice from behind in the fourth quarter. Lena, amazing comeback. And like you said, the Gamecocks were on nobody's radar. Losing Spencer Rattler last year, he was an explosive quarterback. And no one really expected him to kind of reload that offense, losing a player of that caliber. But LaNorris Sellers said, I'm here, and is turning around the Gamecocks season. These past couple weeks have been insane. They're on a 4-game SEC win streak. First time since 2012 that has happened. But looking on the other side of things, man, what has happened with Missouri? They were like competing for top 10 slots, and all of a sudden they can't do anything right. I think, in my opinion, it comes down to defense. I mean, Brady Cook found Luther Burden III in the end zone with 1:10 left to go ahead, and they still end up losing this game. A lot of concerns on Missouri, but if you're a Gamecock fan, you are ecstatic right now.
Yeah, Sam, if I'm going to be honest, I mean, everything you said with Missouri is true. Just so disappointing. last year they finished in the top 10, won their bowl game. I think at least they won their bowl game. And they were just playing incredible football. And, Cook decides to come back and really see what they can do. Obviously, Luther Burden, as you said, one of the better wide receivers in college football. That was a dynamic duo last year, especially down the stretch. What has happened? Like, it's just completely fallen apart. I mean, they got blown out by Texas A&M, blown out by Alabama, like 31 and 34-point losses.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for a signature win anywhere. I mean, they beat Boston College at home when Boston College was number 24.
Yeah.
And they beat them by 6, and they didn't cover. That's the only ranked win they have. They've just been super, super disappointing. So I don't really want to talk about them anymore. I want to talk about South Carolina because this team's fun. This team is just fun. As you said, 4 straight SEC wins, the big one over Texas A&M at home, where they kind of beat the crap out of them. Of course, the Texas A&M team that we covered beat the crap out of Missouri just a little bit ago. Barely lost to Alabama in Tuscaloosa. Remember that game? And we're just like, what happened to Alabama?
Yeah.
The story of that might be, this whole time South Carolina was pretty good, and we just didn't see it. But a couple, they're playing great football now. A couple ranked wins now. Texas A&M and Missouri played Bama close on the road, and played LSU close at home. I remember watching that game. They kind of choked that away. They probably should have won. So this South Carolina team is fun, man. I'm digging this team, and I mean they have their SEC bye week this week, so they play Wofford, but then they close out with Clemson, and that's a big time rivalry game. That's a big time, bad blood game, and that could be pretty awesome because right now, Sam, I believe Clemson is 17, South Carolina is 18, so that could be pretty fun.
Absolutely, but that's always a great game. And Spencer Rattler went crazy.
I was ago. 2 years ago, South Carolina had that weird finish where they beat Tennessee when Tennessee had Hendon Hooker. It looked like they were going to make it a bid for the playoff, and then they beat Clemson, who was making a bid for the play, and it was like. Yeah, so Spencer Rattler might be good again. And then last year, obviously, things didn't go according to plan for South Carolina. So glad to see them coming back because it's been a long time since South Carolina has been relevant in that SEC.
Absolutely.
I mean, who's the quarterback?
Connor Shaw.
That's what I'm thinking of. And the running back who tore his leg apart. I remember that.
Marshawn Lattimore. Was it Lattimore?
Yeah, Marshawn Lattimore, 100%. 100%.
And Jadeveon
Clowney, of course, the old ball coach. Yeah. Steve Spurrier was, of course, the coach of those teams in that the bowl game against Michigan. We all know that hit.
All the line.
Just absurd stuff. But shout out South Carolina. They're playing good ball, and no one thought they would be. And to wrap it up, another big one in the SEC. I called Georgia Tennessee the big one. This one might put in its might give it a little run for its money as the big one in the SEC. But Sam, LSU, it might be over for LSU.
Yeah,
they go to the swamp, and Florida takes them down 27-16.
Yeah, Tanner. If you look at these stats, there is no reason why Florida should have won this game. I mean, LSU had more first downs, third down efficiency. Just have
more first downs. They had double the amount of first down.
More yards, more passing yards, more rushing yards, less penalties. They did have a turnover. And then if you look at time of possession, 41 minutes to 18 minutes. This one was crazy. I really don't know how to explain it other than Brian Kelly might just be a shade coach.
I think.
I mean, there's literally no other way. We all saw the clip of him ripping into his players, Chris Hilton and Kyron Lacey. To Chris Hilton, if you are a lip reader or seen the video, it pretty easily you can tell Don't walk away from me. You are a effing uncoach. You are effing uncoachable. Who the F do you think you are? So that is LSU in a nutshell. It's is brutal, but um on the other side, for the Gators, it's a huge win. Like you said, DJ Lagway, I can't figure this cat out. One game, he looks like one of the best quarterbacks in the entire country, such as this game. Then you have games where he has 47 yards, 98 yards, 50 yards. And then you have a game like this, 226. It literally makes no sense of how LSU lost this game. But shout out the Gators. I think the Gators played great defense. Obviously, LSU had a ton of time with the ball, but Nussmeier getting sacked 7 times by the Gators. Chomp, chomp. But this game, I still don't understand how Florida. Obviously, 7 times never a good thing, but still.
Yeah. No, it's definitely perplexing. The first downs and the time possession truly is pretty staggering, the difference there. LSU, they're dead. They're so dead. They're deader than they've ever been before. Brian Kelly, boy, this has been a really rough year. He continues to not win. He never won the big game at Notre Dame. He goes to LSU, continues to. I mean, this team lost to USC in the first game of the year. We should have known then that this was over. It's over. Just stop.
Yeah.
I don't know if Brian Kelly's the coach of LSU next year. I mean, what
the thing is though, they're still paying Ed Ogeron, and Brian Kelly got fat paycheck
because he had to leave Notre Dame, so they had to pay him a ton of money to get him to leave. So
do
they want to be paying 3 coaches? Do they just suck it up and continue with Brian Kelly? It's a rough spot to be. I'm not going to lie to you. It's a rough spot to be. But Brian, it's pretty clear Brian Kelly's not it. It just doesn't. Nothing about him says LSU. I thought I guess
the recruiting videos, his accent,
his Bayou accent,
dude,
he's Bayou born and raised right there. But yeah, dude, it's like when the hire was announced, like I wasn't like confused because Brian Kelly's been the coach of Notre Dame for a long time, and like he's had some success, like whatever. But it's when seeing him in the colors, it's just not a fit. It was never a fit, and it's clear that that's not it. That's not the answer there. Now, on the other side of this, I mean, I can't believe if you told me a few weeks ago LSU and Florida would be playing and leaving that game, one coach was going to be on the hot seat and it wasn't going to be Billy Napier.
Yeah,
I would have thought you were crazy. But Florida has now put together an interesting second half of the season. Obviously, first half of the season, we called him dead. Billy Napier's gone. He's fired. They're looking for a new coach. Lane Kiffin, get ready to learn Gainesville, buddy, all that stuff. Since losing to Texas A&M, which is when we called them dead, and that Texas A&M was quite good.
Yeah.
We called them dead then. Then they beat Mississippi State. They beat UCF. They barely lost to Tennessee on the road in overtime. They played Georgia tough in Athens. They got smoked by Texas, but that's okay. Now they beat LSU. Like they're 5-5 after starting out with brutal losses to Miami and Texas A&M. I don't know. I don't think this team's not as bad as I thought.
Yeah. And
looking at this specific game, Sam, Elijah Badger had a day for Florida. He had 6 receptions, 131, and a touchdown. Great name, Elijah Badger. Speaking of Badger, I don't know why it took Florida so long. Granted, I haven't been watching Florida football all that closely this year. But speaking of Badger, like, finally they realized Graham Mertz isn't it. Like, that guy sucks.
Yeah.
That guy sucks. And obviously, like you said, Lagway's been up and down, but at least you have this upside.
Yeah.
And Graham Mertz never had it. And that, just give give it up with Graham Mertz. That guy sucks. But Florida, man, they're playing themselves into being a little pesky team. Yeah, I think, when you looked at the state of Florida football with Florida and Florida State, how early on in the season we were like, like these teams suck.
Mm-hmm.
One team completely turned around. I think Florida's turned it around. I think they're a pesky football team that you don't really want to play, and Florida State just continues to suck. So, I got to give some props to Billy Napier and the Florida Gators, because I think they turned stuff around when it looked really bleak over in Gainesville. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Shout out them. That's going to wrap it up for our college football talk. Of course, we will now move on to the NFL. We will start off in the noon slate. The Vikings, of course, they traveled down to Nashville, took on the Titans, and Sam put together another win, going 4-0 against the sorry-ass AFC South. And the Minnesota Vikings have played themselves to 8-2 on the season.
Yeah, these
just like I predicted.
Absolutely, duh. I think this game was kind of I don't even know how to describe, but we saw Sam Darnold be good, not great. He doesn't have to be.
He was
great.
Fine.
He was fine. We've seen him struggle the past couple weeks, not having the best games of his time in Minnesota. He finished today or Sunday, 246, 3 touchdowns, 2 of them being passing, 1 rushing, obviously. But this came down to 2 categories, Tanner. Sacks.
Yes.
Titans had allowed 5 sacks. Obviously, we know that Minnesota defense is a problem to be reckoned with, but 5 sacks, never a recipe for success, and penalties, Tanner. The Titans had 13 penalties for 91 yards. That's sacks and penalties, shooting yourself in the foot way too much. And on top of that, a pick. It's never a recipe for success, and led the Vikings to get a dub here.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think that the story of the game was penalties. Like, even like the sacks, yeah, they were a big thing. But not only did they have so many penalties, Sam, but they had a bomb touchdown to Calvin Ridley taken off the board due to an illegal formation because the tackle was lined up too far off the line of scrimmage. They had a 4th down stop where they completely stuffed Sam Darnold. That was called back for an offsides. The guy, it wasn't even like he got a head start. He was just straight up lined up offside.
Yeah.
They had a pass interference in the end zone that led to a Minnesota touchdown when they got the ball to 1. Just so many penalties, Sam, that were just came at the worst time. And you kind of figure out why a team is 2-7, now 2-8, when they continue to make mistakes like that. But when actually watching the players on the field, Will Levis played pretty well.
Yeah,
I thought he played pretty well. He had the pick, that sealed the game. Whatever, he was trying to push the ball downfield in a 10-point game, 2-possession game. Time's running out. You kind of got to do that. So I don't think the pick. I wasn't like, oh, what is he doing?
Mm-hmm.
But he had the 98-yard touchdown, which was a great throw. I think Will Levis looked pretty good. I mean, the Tennessee couldn't get any rush game going. That's been a theme against the Vikings defense. They've done pretty good against the run this year. But if you're Tennessee, I think you're encouraged by the way Will Levis played. You still can't run the ball, whatever. And it's just kind of like a whatever game, I think, with a team that's 2-7, obviously you want to win, but do you want to win?
Yeah.
So I think it was just a whatever game. Now for Minnesota, I think, seeing Sam bounce back and not turn the ball over. I mean, he had, according to the stats, he lost a fumble. He didn't. He turned around and tossed it to Aaron Jones, who dropped it. But of course, it goes against Sam because Jones never corralled it.
Yeah.
But it was Aaron Jones' fault. So I'm counting it as no turnovers. He was efficient. He looked good. He was fine, as we said. The inability to run the ball is concerning. Aaron Jones might be injured. He's always injured at this point in the year. Just Green Bay fans know exactly what I'm talking about. So we don't know exactly what's going on there, but didn't really run the ball very effectively. But other than that, like the game was never really that close. Obviously, the 98-yard touchdown changed things. I think it was 16-3 at the time of that, and so it felt like Minnesota had complete and total control. The 98-yard touchdown changed things a little bit, but really Minnesota kind of just felt in control this entire game. I know people are going to, compare it to the Lions, who Minnesota the last 2 weeks, they played Jacksonville and they played Tennessee, beat Jacksonville 12-7, now Tennessee 23-13. And Detroit beat each of them by like 40. Um, but I mean, I never thought Minnesota was as good as Detroit. So I think that's why they beat them by more than we beat them, because they're better than Minnesota. But I'm never going to apologize for road wins, and especially when you win to go 8-2. So it was just kind of a whatever game. I don't think there's really much to take away on either side, whether it's, oh boy, we need to rush to this conclusion or that conclusion. So good to see Sam bounce back and not turn the ball over. There are some things to work on, of course. But in general, I thought the Vikings played pretty well and came out with a. I mean, they covered the spread and they came out with a 2-possession victory on the road.
Yeah, can't complain about that. Don't apologize for a win.
That's the name of the game, which I almost apologized for the Jaguars win. You can still make the argument I need to, but this one I won't, and I don't think I need to. But moving on, can we have a moment of silence? The Jets are dead. They're dead. They've never been more dead. It's over. It's over. It's never coming back. They're not running the table. It's over. They're dead. DEAD, dead. They have casualties to show for it with Robert Saleh, of course, a few weeks ago, and now Joe Douglas, their GM, gone, put in the dirt. What a disaster for the New York Jets. They lose to the Colts at home 28-27.
Yeah. What a collapse by the Jets. Obviously, we can go all the way back to last year where Aaron Rodgers had 3 plays and got hurt out for a season. It was downhill from there, Chandler. But just focusing on this game, they made Anthony Richardson look good, and that's pretty hard to do. A couple weeks ago, he was a loser of the episode because he frankly didn't want to play football anymore. It's just absolutely atrocious what this Jets team has become. I feel kind of bad for Salah. I think he was a scapegoat. I firmly believe this isn't 100% on him, as we've seen these past couple weeks. But I don't know where you go if you're the Jets. This season's over. There's no coming back from this. It's going to be very interesting to see how and when the Jets get out of this, because clearly Aaron Rodgers' project is not working out the way everyone thought it was. And you've brought in all these guys to help Rodgers. And to be fair, Rodgers didn't play bad this game, but big picture, he really hasn't helped your team a whole lot as much as you thought you would. So, I mean, this is a new low for the Jets, Tanner.
Yeah, this is, believe it or not, this is bad. This is very, very bad. I do think there is an argument that this was doomed to fail the minute he tore his ACL.
Yeah.
A 40-year-old coming off, or ACL, Achilles, the 40-year-old coming off of an Achilles tear is rarely ever gonna be it, no matter how good of a player you were 5 years ago. So I do feel for Jets fans in that. I mean, I feel for Jets fans in general. This isn't their fault. But I do think, there's an argument to be made that this was all doomed because of that. But still, I mean, there's nothing left to say. Robert Saleh, justice for Robert Saleh. I don't know, because I'm not going to come out here and say he was a great coach. I guess I don't think he was, but the Jets defense, Sam, last year was incredible. This year, through 4 games, was a little bit of a letdown, but they were still a good defense.
Yeah.
Since Robert Saleh was fired, they have been horrendous, awful, terrible, just horrible. Teams are running the ball with ease on them. They're passing the ball. Like, their defense has been horrendous since Robert Saleh got fired. So I think, if you're Saleh, you got to feel a little bit validated in the fact that your defense got so much worse without you. But still, I don't know what you do. Like, do you just pray? Aaron Rodgers decides to retire. Do you want to run it back with him again? Is head coach like, what do you do for head coach? Because it's Rodgers. Rodgers is going to hire his friend if he's there. So do you give him like the keys to your head coaching decision as you have the roster? Because that worked out so well. Like, do you trust him to make that? What do you do? Like, there's so many things that you have to figure out here. And not to mention the amount of capital you've invested via trades. I mean, they traded for Hassan Reddick. They traded for Devontae Adams. It's not a good spot.
Yeah, not a great spot if you're the Jets, man.
Yeah, I don't, with the Colts, Anthony Richardson looked pretty good, I guess, so there's that, to take away from this. Obviously, you get a road win. But the story of this is the Jets are dead. The Aaron Rodgers project should be over. Who knows what his plans are next year? I mean, if I'm him, I don't know why I would ever want to step foot on a football field again. Go to your darkness, do your ayahuasca, and just forget about football.
Yeah.
But who knows? Who knows? Disaster for the Jets, no doubt about it. But we got 2 heavy hitters to round up the NFL slate, Sam. This one was the battle for the AFC North. The Steelers, maybe the surprise team in the NFL, probably playing incredible football. They took on the Baltimore Ravens, who at various points this season have been dubbed the best team in the NFL by yours truly and a bunch of others, and it's been a little bit of an up and down season, but they've been pretty consistent in their offense and their ability to run the ball. But Sam, in the big time matchup in the AFC North, the Steelers win at home 18-16 without scoring a touchdown with 6 field goals. They are now 8-2, and they are in full control in the AFC North.
Yeah, this was kind of a vintage, like early 2000s, early 2010s Ravens Steelers game. Just a defensive, a sluggish game, and it was awesome. But it's time to have the conversation that Justin Tucker might.
He's washed. No, I think
1 for 3. And in a low scoring competitive game, that's really what this game came down to, Tanner. Justin Tucker went 1 for 3, and Chris Boswell did not miss. In a game like this, kicking matters most. Chris Boswell 6 for 16, 57 yards, scoring all the points. But obviously, the kicking game was huge. Chris Boswell stepped up big time for the Steelers. But if you're the Ravens, I don't even know if you're like disappointed by this loss, because Russell Wilson didn't play well. And we've seen him just go crazy these past couple of weeks. He only had 205 yards on 23 completions, 0 touchdowns, 1 pick. It's definitely concerning. I don't know. It's just crazy. Season low for the Ravens with yards and points. This explosive offense we've seen week in, week out is a reason why a lot of people thought this Ravens team finally went over that hump. Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, we've talked about them at length. Receiving court, they just didn't get going. And props to the Steelers defense, man. They played a very good game against probably one of the the top two offenses in the league. But it helps when the Ravens shoot themselves 12 times in foot, giving up 80 yards. So, and then three turnovers. It's hard to win close battle like this when you're doing that.
Yeah, no doubt. A couple things going on with this game. I think if you're the Ravens, like that's why it's so frustrating that you didn't give up a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
Russell Wilson didn't play. If he came in and he threw for 300 yards, you're just like, wow, he had it today. That this game was so winnable, and you weren't able to get it done. But with the Ravens, there's no amount of they could lose every single game this year for the rest of the year, and I will never not believe them as a Super Bowl contender. They're just they have too much talent across the board. I saw them play the Bills earlier in the year when they beat them like 35-10.
Yeah.
That's just ingrained in my mind. So no matter what the record is, I know they're 7-4. The Steelers are 8-2. I think the Ravens are much better than the Steelers. I do. If they played each other again, I think the Ravens would win. I just, in my mind, there's nothing this Ravens team can do that will just make me stop believing in them.
Mm-hmm.
But the Steelers' defense is awesome. They got dudes. They got dudes everywhere. Patrick Queen has been a godsend for the Steelers. We all know T.J. Watt, and then that secondary. I mean, Minkah Fitzpatrick. I mean, Joey Porter Jr. Like they've been awesome. They've been so good in holding down, as we talked about, one of the better offenses in the NFL. The 16 points, season lows across the board. For the Ravens, that defense is awesome. And when we all know the saying, defense wins championships, defense travels. It seems like you'll be in every game when you have a defense like that. Just ask any Iowa fan.
Yeah.
So except Russell Wilson is not Deacon Hill. Russell Wilson can at least put up some points to win you football games when Deacon Hill couldn't. So I think this defense is super good. I think this offense is opportunistic, and just what a win for Pittsburgh. I still think Baltimore is the best team in this division. But what a win for the Steelers, and they're now in control.
Yeah,
they're now in control. But to wrap it up, Sam, we had another casualty. We had a casualty in college football with BYU. We have another one in the NFL. The undefeated season is over. The Bills beat the Chiefs 30-21. Chiefs now 9-1, given their first loss of the season.
Yeah, these games are always awesome. Two of the top three quarterbacks in the league battling it out every time. This comes down to some crazy stuff happening, and to be honest, it happened again. But time and time again this year, the Chiefs' defense was the thing that kept these Chiefs winning. Patrick Mahomes is always going to be good, but he's not the Mahomes of the incredible Super Bowl runs we've seen in the past this year. I mean, he had not played well. Not played well up to Mahomes standards, I should say. 23 completions, 196 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Didn't get going running the ball. And Josh Allen simply played better. 27 for 40, 262, 1 touchdown. Did have a pick, but didn't cost him in this one. And he made the biggest play of the game. Down late, had that rushing touchdown on 4th and 2. Seemed McDermott said, make a play. And Josh Allen answered that call. It was a 58th rushing touchdown of Allen's career, moving him into the second on the Bills list, 1 ahead of O.J. Simpson and 7 behind Thurman Thomas. And his 2 touchdown passing, or his 2 touchdown outing, also increased his total to 244, tying Jim Kelly for first in team history. Huge game for the Bills. If you're Josh Allen, you're a stack. It seems Mahomes has always kind of had your number when y'all battle, whether it's regular season or playoffs. So having a big win and kind of being the guy in this one, it's got to feel good.
Yeah, no doubt. So, a couple things regarding this game. Huge win for the Bills, obviously, But when you look at the Bills season, like this is the marquee win, right? You had a big one early on in the season against the Ravens. You lost 35-10. Then you had another big one against the Texans the next week, and you lost 23-20. Those were your big games. Those were supposed to be against contenders in the AFC, and you lost both. With wins against the Cardinals, Dolphins, Jaguars, up to that point. So now we're thinking, oh my gosh, are they frauds? Can they beat a good team? Then they beat the Jets, okay. Titans, okay. Seahawks, okay. Dolphins, okay. Colts, okay. Like, we're starting to think, like, can they beat the good teams this year? And you come out and you beat the Chiefs. It's big time. And I know they talked about this on part of my take, but like, what's so big about this was that Sean McDermott learned.
Yeah.
He learned from his mistakes, because that Josh Allen run, the biggest play of the game, was on a 4th down. And he lined up to kick it. And that kick would have made a 2-point game a 5-point game. And they would have given the ball back to Patrick Mahomes, and he, without fail, he would have marched right down the field.
Yep.
Scored a touchdown and ripped the Bills' hearts out. But he said, screw that. I have an absolute maniac of a quarterback. 6'5", huge, athletic. I'm going to put the ball in his hands, and we're going to freaking get this first down. Ended up being a touchdown. Made it a 2-possession game. Obviously, put the game away. So that's huge from the Bills' standpoint of learning from past mistakes. Now, I mean, if you're the Chiefs, this is a whatever game. I mean, you're undefeated.
Yeah.
You've been playing with fire. You're so hurt with Pacheco and Rice. Like, amazing. You're undefeated. Like, there's just nothing no story here for the Chiefs. But what I found interesting, Sam, Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen have played head-to-head 8 times in their career. What do you think the record is, and who's winning?
4-4.
Wow. Nailed it.
I know ball. What can I say?
The problem is Allen is 4-1 against Mahomes in the regular season.
Yeah.
Mahomes is 3-0 in the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's because it's just funny because, it feels like this is one-sided. That Allen is doing whatever he can.
Yeah.
They're 4-4. It's just the playoff bugaboo that's the big one.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if you read that saying they're more even than we thought, or if you read that saying Josh Allen's a pumpkin in the postseason. Yeah, I don't know, but I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, because you're totally right. It seems everyone talks, and I do think it's because Mahomes gets it done in the playoffs.
And the offs,
yeah,
probably is the case. But a huge win for the Bills, a signature win. They now go to 9-2. They've pretty much got that division locked up. And yeah, I mean, it looks like the things are starting to take shape, and the AFC will be a gauntlet between the Ravens, I guess the Steelers now, the Bills, all these good teams in there. It should be pretty fun.
Yeah,
it should be pretty fun. And you can even throw in the Texans in there as well. And of course the Chiefs. So this should be pretty sweet. Fight to the death in the AFC, but of course we all know the Chiefs are just going to win because they always do.
Yeah.
But what do you say we talk about some players of the week?
Yeah, man. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it. All right. Of course, we start in college. Sam, who's your college football player of the week?
Yeah, man. It seems, it's easy to tell when an offensive player, you can look at the stats and be like, damn, that dude had a day. And look, for example, LaNorris Sellers, that dude went crazy. But it's very rare you see a stat line of a defensive player and it's like, okay, this dude balled out. And that is exactly what defensive end for the Clemson Tigers did. TJ Parker. He had 4 tackles or 4 sacks, 3 additional tackles, a forced fumble, and a pass deflection as a DN.
Good God.
And it's not like he was playing like the Citadel or Mercer. He was playing Pitt, who was
undefeated
ranked,
just like 2 months ago.
So it's very rare we nominate a defensive player because it is so hard to tell. Because a guy can have 2 sacks and you're like, that's okay. But this dude, 4 sacks, 3 additional tackles, 4 fumbles. You got to nominate him, right?
What a beast. Shout out.
Absolutely.
Shout out. My player of the week, LaNorris Sellers. Balled out this week. Big time win for South Carolina. We already went through all those details, but just to run through the stat line again, 21 for 30, pretty good completion percentage, 353 yards, 5 total touchdowns, added 45 yards on the ground as well. Just was the best player on the field the entire game. Led South Carolina to that comeback win in the final minute. Just nothing more to add other than he was an absolute beast, and he is my college football player of the week.
No arguments there. You said best player on the field. I'd say he was the best player in college football.
There you go.
He was an absolute stud, got huge win. So yeah, definitely worthy of player of the week there.
No doubt. But let's turn to the pros. Give me your NFL player of the week.
Yeah, this quarterback, going back to the offensive side of things, it's hard to argue that this guy shouldn't be nominated for player of the week. We obviously focus on the guys like that are just having great careers. Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. We always talk
the
about
undisputed top
the undisputed
QBs.
Joe Burrow, right? Let's talk about this rookie, Tanner. Bo Nix, man.
I'm so glad you said that.
Nobody thought this dude was going to be shit in the NFL. Personally, I did. Gotta give myself a pat on the back there. He is playing out of his mind. He played out of his mind the past week against the Atlanta Falcons. Went 28 for 33, 307 yards, 4 touchdowns. He is the first rookie in NFL history to throw for at least 300 yards, 4 touchdowns, while completing 80% of his passes. Also, just the third quarterback in Broncos history to post such a stat line. Pretty good company. Broncos has a pretty good history of good quarterbacks. He also became the first Broncos quarterback since 2016 to throw for 4 touchdowns and 300 yards in a game. Posted the second highest single game passer rating. And he joined Peyton Manning as the only rookies in NFL history to throw for 200 yards and multiple touchdowns in 4 consecutive games.
I'm very glad you said that because he was awesome in that game. The Broncos beat the piss out of the Falcons. And you know, a lot of rookies, when they put up good stat lines, you see, you know, easy completions, high percentage completions. That just wasn't the case. Like, sure, he got it out to some playmakers at some point, but he was efficient down the field. He's efficient in, you know, passes 10 plus yards down the field. He was unbelievable. And yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I don't want him to be good because I absolutely despise Sean Payton. And, you know, the whole thing of like, oh, he baited the Vikings into trading up, whatever, so he can be like Bo Nix the whole time, whatever. But you got to give credit where credit is due. He was incredible.
Yeah.
You know, he was absolutely incredible. But yeah, not much more I can add. I'm really glad that he gets the nod for having a great performance like that. But Sam, I'm going to go with a player on a team where it seems like you could pick about 5 guys for player of the week. This is, of course, the undisputed, or should be undisputed, best team in the NFL, the Detroit Lions. They came off this weekend and they beat the living shit out of the Jacksonville Jaguars, 52-6. You can pick your poison. Jared Goff had 412 yards passing and 4 touchdowns. You could pick your poison, but my official player of the week, I got to show some love to the wide receivers. Give me Amon-Ra St. Brown. This guy is an absolute beast. We saw him in the receiver documentary. He was, you know, really cool to follow, cool to watch his story. but all he did was come out with 11 receptions, 161 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Was good for 38 fantasy points, which was the highest this week in the NFL. But just unbelievable performance from him and the Lions as a whole. Just to add fuel to the fire, Jameson Williams had 124 receiving yards and a touchdown. David Montgomery had 75 yards running and 2 touchdowns. Jahmyr Gibbs had 69 yards rushing and a touchdown. Anyone who wanted, everybody ate in this game, but Amon-Ra St Brown was the best of them, of the skill position players on the quarterback, and he deserves it. So 11 receptions, 161 yards, 2 touchdowns, 38 fantasy points. Shout out Amon-Ra St Brown. The Lions are absolutely steamrolling people, and they are again the undisputed. If you dispute this, I'm afraid you don't know ball. They are the undisputed best team in the NFL, and Amon-Ra St Brown is a big reason why.
So. Yeah, no arguments here, man. It's crazy though, because like really haven't heard a lot from Amon-Ra this year.
No.
It's been a lot of Jameson Williams talk. And then
Jahmyr Gibbs talk.
And then this week.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh yeah, that he was like a top 7 receiver last year. And he's like, oh yeah, he's on that team that's kicking the shit out of
everybody. I mean, everybody. They're just kicking ass right now. And seems like if the Lions don't win it this year, it ain't happening, brother. It's just not.
Gotta pack it up and call it a day.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But that wraps it up for our players of the week. And now we welcome on recurring guest Erich Godsey, of course, for some pick'em. Okay, we now welcome on recurring guest Erich Godsey to pick some games with us. How you doing today, Erich?
Good. How are y'all doing today?
Not too bad ourselves. We've got a decent slate ahead of us. There's definitely been better in the college football season thus far, but beggars can't be choosers. So let's get right into it. We start off with the game of the week in the Big Ten, the big noon kickoff. Undefeated Indiana has to go to Columbus to take on Ohio State. Erich, who are we going in this one?
Well, I just want to start off by saying the fact that this is the big noon kickoff drives me insane. That this isn't a night game is mind-boggling. But that's neither here nor there. I got to go Ohio State. Indiana, they're having that year 9-0. I think it ends. I think it ends on Saturday with Ohio State.
Not so fast, Eric. Give me the Hoosiers. To be honest, I haven't been loving what I've seen from the Buckeyes. I really don't trust Will Howard in big game situations. Struggled against Nebraska, ended up pulling that one out late. But he struggled in these big games. I think Indiana has a lot to prove on Saturday and could have massive implications on who gets in to that Big Ten championship again, facing the Oregon Ducks. So give me Indiana here with the upset.
Wow. I appreciate the balls for that pick. I'm not going to do it. No, I've got the Buckeyes at home. It's just Indiana's got to lose at some point. We all know the schedule. We all know everything being said. Indiana's a cool story. I love the way they've played this year. They had some big time wins, absolutely destroyed Nebraska at home. All that's, fun. I think obviously we're having a little different conversation if this was in Indiana. It's not, it's in the shoe. I think Ohio State takes care of business on Saturday. So give me Ohio State as well. But moving on.
What is the line? What is the line on that? If you guys have it by chance. Do you know?
I believe it is Ohio State minus 13.
Yeah. See, that's what Vegas knows something. If it was closer, I was debating it, but yeah, that 13.5 is a lot for Ohio State's way. But
minus 13. Yeah, they've got it as a 2-possession game. It's they're predicting a big time win for Ohio State for sure.
Okay, cool.
Okay, now we'll go down to SEC country, Florida may have saved Billy Napier's tenure down in Gainesville. I don't know about that, but they do have another big time game. They welcome in Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin, who was rumored to be taking over the job a couple weeks into the season. So a big time game in the swamp. Erich, who are you going with?
Really wanted to go Florida. Florida always plays well against Ole Miss, always plays well, obviously, against LSU. But I think this is Ole Miss's year where they're clicking on all cylinders. Wide receivers are playing out of their mind. Defensive line is a madhouse. So I'm going to have to go with Ole Miss going down to the swamp and winning.
Yeah, I hate to do this, but I totally agree. I just don't trust DJ Lagway, however the hell you say his last name, to have two good games in a row. We talked about earlier, Tanner. I just don't trust him that well. And frankly, if they have to go to their backup Graham Mertz, they're even in bigger trouble. I really like. I think Erich, you nailed it. Ole Miss just seems to have all the wheels rolling right now. And I expect a big game from Jackson Dart this game. So give me Ole Miss.
Man, this is really tough because I want to so bad. I want to so bad. Screw it. I'm going to do it. Give me Florida. Give me the Gators. Now, I think, we're having a different conversation if Florida's playing for something. Coming off a big win off of over LSU. I think, there's obviously some hangover potential there, but I just don't think Florida's got nothing to lose. They're just playing ball right now because they had a disastrous start to their season. So I think they're going to play a similar way. I mean, at home, the swamp's going to be loud because you know what? They've got some life now all of a sudden. And I think they're going to be able to get it done over Ole Miss and put together two pretty impressive wins in a row for a team that was all but dead not too long ago. And Billy Napier really solidifies his role for next year as the head coach of the Florida Gators. So I'm rolling with Florida. Screw it. Always great to say that when you're making a pick, right? Oh man, that's great. But next we'll move on to the Big 12. BYU coming off of their first loss of the season, kind of a heartbreaker at home this past week to Kansas. But they got to go to Arizona State, who's now ranked in the top 25 in the college football playoff and playing some pretty good ball. So Erich, who are you going with in this one?
Yeah, this was a tough one. With BYU being undefeated, losing, like you said, it was a tough loss. I think this is a bounce back game for them. I think they go to ASU, and I think they get the victory.
Damn it, I hate doing this, but I agree. Arizona State, they've been on the up and up these past couple of weeks, but they really haven't played anybody. They've kind of been playing the bottom tier of that Big 12. And I just think BYU has a lot to fight for. They dropped down to 12, just sneaking into that bracket. So I think they need a big win here. Another ranked win would look better on that resume. So give me BYU here.
Not so fast, my friend. These Arizona State Sun Devils, man, they have played good ball as of recently. And we keep going to, what's the line? Obviously, the line doesn't decide who wins the game, but, the Sun Devils are 3-point favorites here. Vegas sees something. The line smells. It reeks. I'm going to side with Vegas here. I think at home, Arizona State playing with a lot of momentum. BYU coming off that tough loss and kind of playing with fire over the past few weeks with that. We all know that Utah game. So may have had some help from the refs in that one. But I'm going with Arizona State, man. They're a fun team. And I'm going to be certainly rooting for the Sun Devils to pull off that. I mean, upset based on the standings, but they're favorites. But anyway, I'm going with Arizona State. I think they get this win at home. So big time shakeup in the Big 12. And then to round it out, we've got a American versus independent, as we all expected. Although a big time game for Army, trying to add a signature win to their undefeated record. They got to go to Notre Dame. However, who are we going with?
It's not happening for Army. They're not staying undefeated, sadly. I just think I think Notre Dame's too much for them. As much as I would love for Army to go and win, I just don't see it happening. So I'm going to go with Notre Dame.
Not so fast. Give me the Army Black Knights. They are gonna play spoiler once again for the Fighting Irish. The Fighting Irish, it's bound to happen. It's just a matter of when. And I think it's this weekend. Give me Army going to Notre Dame, shocking the world, giving Notre Dame some trouble, potentially kicking them out of the college football playoffs. Give me Army here.
Wow. Shout out, Sam, for saving the graphic because I'm not going with Army. I'm going with Notre Dame. I think they kind of that loss to Northern Illinois. I don't know if I'm going to say it was the best thing for them, but I think it kind of whipped them into shape a little bit. Their schedule is not the hardest out of any team, and they, it's a wake up call. They got to show up, and they have been recently with some wins by a large margin in recent weeks. And I don't think this is any different. I'm going with the Irish at home, and I think they cover as well. I don't think Army's just got the firepower to keep with them. So give me Notre Dame in that one. But as we look towards the NFL, we've got a rematch of a playoff matchup this past year. The 49ers got to go to Lambeau. Something's got to give here, whether it's the injured 49ers or getting a win, or the Packers, who can't seem to beat the 49ers ever. But yeah, big time matchup in Lambeau. Erich, who are you going with?
This is a tough one. I mean, 49ers are struggling, especially I thought they were going to handle the Seahawks last week pretty easily, and obviously we know how that game ended. And then similar with the Packers, I thought they were going to kill the Bears, and again, it was a blocked field goal that gave them the victory. So I think both teams are in a needed win scenario, but with it being in Lambeau Field, I think Jordan Love starts to figure it out again. I'm going to go with the Packers.
Yep. I just trust Jordan Love more than I do Brock Purdy. Some big questions on both sides. Jair Alexander, questionable going into this one as of today. Trent Williams and Nick Bosa on the 49ers side of things. But at home, I think plays a big role in this one, so give me the Packers as well.
Yeah, I agree. I just everything you said. I mean, the 49ers are injured right now. Going into the season, we talked about how the Niners just seem to be a bad vibes team with the contract stuff in the offseason. Last year seemed to be their year, how they didn't win the Super Bowl last year. Just another year of the Niners being really good and not being able to pull it off. And then with the injuries this year, I just don't think it's going to happen. I haven't been terribly impressed with the Packers either, but I just think they've been better than the Niners, and they're at home. So I'm gonna go with the Packers as well. And if you think I'm saving the graphic to help the Packers, you're insane. So give me the Packers in this one. But in the NFC West, we've kind of got a big time matchup. The Cardinals have been playing incredibly well. Some good football coming out of Arizona. Kyler Murray, even with the new Call of Duty out, still playing good football. But they got to go to Seattle. The Seahawks, big time win over San Francisco this past week. Cardinals or Seahawks? Erich, who are you going with?
Another tough matchup. Again, I think if the Seahawks would have lost last week, it would have been a pretty straight up pick with the Cardinals. But they're gritty. I think I'm gonna have to go Cardinals just because I think, like you said, Kyler Murray has been balling lately, even with the caught out. So I think he is somehow determined or figured out a way to play football in the day and then just not sleep at night, or that whatever he's figured out, it's working. So I'm going to go with the Cardinals because it seems like they're clicking on all cylinders.
Can't believe you're going with the little man. Give me Geno Smith and Jackson Smith and Jigba. They have found a connection as one of the best quarterback wide receiver connections, something Marvin Harrison Jr. and Kyler really haven't found yet. I just think I like those two better. Give me the Seahawks here.
Yeah, I definitely agree with I mean, Jackson Smith-Njigba over the past couple of weeks has been one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. But I think I'm gonna go with Arizona, and I'm gonna go because I think one of the most, if not the most underrated player in the NFL has a day once again, and still we don't talk about it because he no one ever does. But James Conner is an absolute beast, and no one talks about it. And I think he has another day in Seattle, and the Cardinals win this one on the back of James Conner. So give me the Cardinals as well. Kyler playing efficient football, taking care of the football, and then, as I said, leaning on that run game. So I'm going to go with the Cardinals as well. Our next game, we have the Harbaugh Bowl. We do. We have the Harbaugh Bowl. The Chargers, you seem to you rid yourself of Brandon Staley and you start winning football games. Pretty amazing how that works. But of course, they got to take on the Ravens, who I said earlier, there's no amount of losing that's ever going to make me not believe in this team. They're just too good. But this game is in LA, and yeah, should be a good one. But Eric, who are you going with?
Another tough one. I mean, I feel like all these are just literal coin flips. Chargers played really, really well against the Bengals in the first half. Obviously, that third quarter was a struggle, but they ended up coming back to win. The Ravens looked terrible versus the Steelers. So it's either one of those things where they bounce back or they keep on that trajectory. So with it being in LA, I think I'm going to ride with the Chargers.
No, absolutely not. The Chargers struggled against perhaps one of the worst defenses last week in the Cincinnati Bengals. The Ravens, I'll give you that. They looked like crap last week, but their defense still played relatively well. It's just their kicker sucks. So if it doesn't come down to kicking, I got the Ravens here. So give me the Ravens.
Wow. Fired up. Let's go.
Let's go, baby.
I think I'm going to go with the Ravens. I'm never not going to believe in them. I'm going to pick them to win every game for the rest of the year. I'm going to pick them to go to the Super Bowl because I watched them dominate the Bills in week 3. And that's just, in my mind, that's what the Ravens are. And it's what they should be because they're just that talented. And I think they get it done. So give me the Ravens as well on the road in LA. But to wrap it up, we'll stay in LA. We'll stay at SoFi. The Eagles go to SoFi to play the Rams. Eagles have turned around their season from a rough start. Now they're sitting at 8-2 in control in that NFC East. Who wins this one?
I think Eagles by a mile. They're in their stride right now. Their coaches figured it out. I think it was the buzz cut. I think that's what he needed. You just need a nice little reset. Especially after the Commanders win, they looked really good. They always love when they kill the Cowboys. So I think they're just moving in all the right direction at the right time. And I think they get the win versus the Rams.
That's a great pick. I'm not overthinking this one. The Eagles are one of the hottest teams in the NFL, just steamrolling through teams as of late. I think that trend continues. But don't be surprised if this does catch them off guard as they play the Ravens next week. So could be a trap game, but I don't think so.
Yeah. I mean, the Eagles look good. Saquon Barkley will never stop haunting me ever. I just want him out of my life. I want him gone. I want the bad man gone. He will never be gone. He will still continue to put up insane numbers because he's really good at football, hurdling people backwards for some reason. Like, why did you do that? Stop it. Stop it, Saquon.
Didn't even know that was
Didn't even know it was a thing. Like, what was that?
It's black magic.
Hey. And he did it for no reason. He literally got like an extra yard, but it was so cool.
And no one talked about
man. But yeah.
The spin move might have been arguably better. I mean, that was it's just not
absolutely. But yeah, he will never stop haunting me. And the Eagles look good, so that sucks. But I'm gonna go with the Eagles. So nice pick. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, great pick for me. But of course, we have our super dog left to pick. Eric, who you going with?
Well, I went through a few options in my head. Thought about the BYU +3 versus Arizona State. Like we talked about, they just had their first loss. It's a bounce back game. Going to Arizona, what are we going to do? But I decided to land on probably an unpopular pick, considering that this favored team, I believe, is 7-0 against the spread this year. But all good things have to come to an end. So I'm going to go Kansas at +2.5. They're at home. They're playing Colorado. I'm going to say that everyone that plays Colorado, it's their Super Bowl game. They want to beat them. And Kansas goes on to not only cover, but they're going to win the game to, I would say, at this point, probably take Colorado out of the playoffs. So go Jayhawks.
Rock chalk. I love it.
3 signature wins for Kansas in the past, what is that, 4 weeks now? That would be pretty impressive. Look, they were a preseason top 25 team. They had a lot of talent. They just got off to a really rough start, but the talent never left. Like that team could certainly play with the best of them, as we've seen in the past couple of weeks, beating BYU, beating Iowa State. So I don't hate that at all.
Yeah, I don't either. I was also looking at a couple. It kind of upset me that there is no spread as of right now for Charleston Southern. Florida State 1-10 versus 1-9. Kind of BS, because I would for sure be taking Charleston Southern. But for my actual pick, this again paying me. Might be an emotional hedge here. Give me Maryland +6.5 versus Iowa. Cade McNamara makes his return this week. And we all know how bad that dude is. And we have a backup who a week ago our head coach didn't even know. So everything is on the downward trend for the Hawkeyes. And Brian Ferentz is the offensive analyst for Maryland. So give me Maryland +6.5 against our beloved Hawks.
I forgot about the revenge game. By the way, I will not tolerate Jackson Stratton slander on this podcast. So get it together, buddy. It's a disaster. I couldn't even tell that game's happening. Like, I don't care. Like, whatever. It's over. It's so over. It's been over.
Is it basketball season? Is it or
who knows? We suck at that too. It's basketball season.
I mean, baseball. Baseball? Are we going straight baseball now?
I don't know. I mean, we killed Sam. We killed Sam.
2025 football. That's what we're looking forward to.
Yeah. Yeah. Who knows? But it's a rough time to be, and also everything is coming up Iowa State as well. So that's just really nice and dandy. So that sucks. But I don't hate that pick either. Obviously, big question mark at quarterback. When is it not for Iowa? It's, whatever. Same old story. But I'm going to go to the ACC and, a team that has put together a pretty impressive season. And I'm going with the Duke Blue Devils. Manny Diaz and Malik Murphy over at Duke. They put together a 7-3 season. Now this week they are at home against Virginia Tech, 3-point dogs. Give me the Blue Devils at home. They've been somewhat impressive at home this year. They had that big comeback win over UNC at home. And I just kind of like what Duke's been doing, flying under the radar in that ACC. I mean, it's not the toughest conference, so they haven't played the toughest schedule, but I think they get Virginia Tech at home. They're 3-point dogs. Give me Duke. Give me Duke.
I like that pick.
Yeah. So, I mean, Eric, there are 11 points up for grabs here. Your dad is currently in the lead with 8 points. Did you beat him today? Do you think you got him?
Yeah, 11-0.
11-0. He's got all 11. Let's go.
I like it.
I like it. Why not?
The best we had has been 10. So that would be a record. Shout out Tanner last week.
I did get 10 last week.
So,
and if Justin Tucker could make a kick, it would have been 11. But, it is
no longer the GOAT. No longer the GOAT.
Yeah, that is true.
For sure. But thanks so much for coming on, Eric. Definitely always fun when you come on, pick some games. And yeah, hopefully you can dethrone your dad. Don't tell your dad I said that.
Absolutely. I appreciate y'all having me. Thanks, fellas.
All right, man.
Thanks.
All right. Huge shout out to Eric for being our guest picker this week. Always great when he's able to hop on the pod. I mean, he's got to be our most, either him or Brandon, I guess, with baseball and NBA in the past. but definitely one of our OG guests for sure. But yeah, big bragging rights on the line. I believe that's most of the Godsey family has been a guest picker.
Yeah.
So, Ron's holding strong at the top of the totem pole. But yeah, pretty big bragging rights on the line. But that's going to wrap it up for episode 149 of Crunch Time. Talked about a lot, of course. We had winners and losers. We had a college and NFL slate. We had some players of the week, and we wrapped it up with Pick'em. But make sure to follow us on X, TikTok, and Instagram at crunchtime_pod. And make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube Crunch Time with the N326 duo. But the clock has run out on this episode, and we'll see you in the next one on Crunch Time.
Ear.